Your vet just looked up from the chart, smiled, and said the words every dog owner loves to hear, perfectly healthy. And you exhaled. You stopped worrying. But here's the sharp truth longevity science keeps trying to tell us. That moment right there when everything looks fine, that is precisely when the biology of aging begins to accelerate. Not at 7, not when the muzzle goes gray. At 5, at 4 for larger dogs. The window isn't closing yet, but it is opening. And what you do in the next 12 to 24 months will shape the next decade of your dog's life. Let us talk about something most dog owners never hear until it is too late to act on it. You're doing everything right, regular vet visits, quality food, daily walks, all of it. And your vet keeps signing off on a clean bill of health. So you assume you've got time. You assume the hard conversations about joint health, cognitive function, and organ support are problems for future you to deal with. Maybe when the gray hairs show up. Maybe when your dog starts slowing down on walks. Maybe then. But here's what the research on canine aging actually shows. By the time symptoms are visible, biological changes have often been underway for years. The limp you notice at 9 started as microscopic cartilage, where at 5. The kidney values that concern your vet at 11 began shifting quietly at 6. Reactive medicine, waiting for symptoms before acting, is the default model for most pet health care. And it works to a degree, but it is not a longevity strategy. This video is about changing that, not with fear and not with an overwhelming list of supplements to throw at your dog, but with a clear, practical, proactive framework that dog owners in their dogs' midlife years can actually use. Because aging without the ache doesn't start when your dog is old. It starts now, while they are still thriving. That's the whole point. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to shift, what to add, and what to stop waiting on. So let us start with the foundational reframe, because nothing else in this video makes sense without it. Most of us think about dog aging in 2 phases, healthy, then old. Your dog is doing great, and then one day, slowly, then all at once, they are a senior dog with senior dog problems. But that's not how aging actually works in the body. Aging is continuous. It's happening in every cell, every day, from the time your dog is born. What changes around the 4 to 6 year mark for most dogs, and earlier for larger dogs, is the rate at which cellular repair starts to fall behind cellular damage. Think of it like a city's infrastructure. When the city is new, the maintenance crews keep up easily. A pothole gets filled. A pipe gets replaced. But as the city ages, the maintenance demands outpace the crews. You do not notice the decline on any single day. You notice it years later when the roads are rough and the water pressure is low. Your dog's body is that city. And midlife is the moment when the maintenance gap begins to open. That's why this matters so much right now, during the years when everything still looks fine. Because infrastructure is far easier and cheaper to maintain than it is to rebuild. Now let us get into the actual framework. 5 pillars, each one actionable, each one backed by what we know about how dogs age. Short start, the first pillar is joint and mobility preservation. And this is where most people are 5 years too late. Here's what nobody tells you. Cartilage doesn't have a blood supply. That means once it degrades, it cannot repair itself the way muscle or skin can. By the time your dog is visibly stiff in the morning, or hesitating at the bottom of the stairs, significant cartilage loss has already occurred. The window to support cartilage, through weight management, movement variety, and targeted nutrition, is while the cartilage is still largely intact. So what does that look like in practice? First, body weight. Carrying even 10% more body weight than ideal creates roughly 30% more load on joints. That math compounds over years. If your dog is slightly over their ideal weight at 5, the joint cost by 10 is significant. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about mechanical load reduction, one of the most powerful longevity levers you have. Second, movement variety. Long, repetitive walks on flat surfaces are good, but they are not the whole picture. Controlled hill walking, swimming if you have access, and exercises that build the stabilizing muscles around joints are what protect the structure long-term. Muscles act as shock absorbers. The stronger and more balanced the surrounding musculature, the less stress on the joint itself. Third, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA from marine sources. The research here is consistent and has been for years. These fatty acids reduce the inflammatory signaling that accelerates cartilage breakdown. Not every supplement earns its place. This one does. Short end. The second pillar is metabolic and organ health, and this one is almost entirely invisible until it isn't. The organs that quietly carry the most aging burden are the kidneys and the liver. Both filter and process everything your dog eats, breathes, and absorbs. Both have enormous reserve capacity, meaning they can lose a significant percentage of their function before any symptom appears. That's a feature, biologically speaking, but it is a trap from a monitoring standpoint because it means early decline is silent. Here's what proactive looks like for organ health. Hydration, actual, consistent hydration, is the single most underrated factor in kidney longevity. Dry kibble-only diets produce consistently lower urine volume and higher urine concentration than diets with any wet food component. Chronic mild dehydration, sustained over years, is a quiet tax on kidney filtration tissue. Adding wet food, a water fountain to encourage drinking, or even lightly moistening dry food, these are low-effort, high-impact habits that compound over time. Blood work cadence matters too. Annual panels are the standard recommendation. But if you want to catch organ function trends early, running blood work every 6 months starting at midlife gives you something far more valuable than a snapshot. It gives you a trend line. One set of values tells you where your dog is today. 3 sets of values over 18 months tells you where your dog is going. That's the difference between reactive and proactive medicine. The third pillar is brain health and cognitive resilience, and this one doesn't get nearly enough airtime. Canine cognitive dysfunction is real, it is common, and the early signs are often dismissed as just getting older. Disorientation, altered sleep-wake cycles, changes in social interaction, decreased responsiveness. These show up gradually, and by the time they are obvious, significant neurological change has already occurred. The parallel to human dementia research is uncomfortably close. What we know from both human and canine research is that cognitive reserve, essentially the brain's ability to maintain function despite age-related changes, is built over time through 2 primary inputs: physical activity and mental stimulation. They're not interchangeable. You need both. Physical activity improves cerebral blood flow and supports the health of neurons. Mental stimulation, novel environments, scent work, learning new behaviors, puzzle feeders, maintains the synaptic connections that keep cognitive function sharp. A dog who uses their brain consistently at 5, 6, and 7 is building structural resilience against the decline that often emerges at 10, 11, and 12. This is one of the clearest cases where lifestyle at midlife directly predicts outcome at old age. It's not abstract. It's neurological compounding. The fourth pillar is dental health. And before you skip this section because you've heard it before, stay with me for a moment. Most people understand dental care as a hygiene issue. Clean teeth, fresh breath, avoid the expensive dental cleaning. That framing misses the actual mechanism. Periodontal disease is a chronic systemic inflammatory condition. The bacteria that accumulate in an inflamed gum line do not stay in the mouth. They enter the bloodstream. Over years, that persistent bacterial load has documented associations with cardiac and kidney tissue damage. Your dog's mouth is not a cosmetic issue. It's a systemic health issue. And the inflection point, where bacterial accumulation starts to damage the supporting tissue of the teeth, typically begins between 3 and 5 years of age in dogs who aren't receiving consistent dental hygiene. Daily tooth brushing with an enzymatic toothpaste is the gold standard. Not weekly, daily. If that's not feasible, dental chews with efficacy research behind them, dental diets and water additives can supplement, but they are not equivalent replacements. The mechanical disruption of plaque through brushing is uniquely effective. Even 3 to 4 times per week is dramatically better than nothing. Start before the problem starts. The fifth pillar is stress load and sleep quality, the ones almost nobody talks about in the context of longevity. Chronic low-grade stress in dogs is vastly under-recognized. We tend to notice acute stress, the thunderstorm panic, the vet visit anxiety, but the dog who is mildly overstimulated most of the day, who doesn't get enough true rest, who lives in a high-energy household with no genuine downtime, that dog is running with elevated cortisol as a baseline. And chronically elevated cortisol suppresses immune function, accelerates inflammatory processes, and disrupts sleep architecture. Sleep is not passive recovery time. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system, essentially its waste clearance mechanism, flushes out metabolic byproducts, including proteins associated with neurodegeneration. Dogs who sleep deeply and sufficiently clear those byproducts more effectively. Disrupted or insufficient sleep means accumulation over time. What does reducing stress load look like in practice? It means giving your dog genuine choice and control where possible, letting them choose to approach or retreat in social situations rather than forcing interactions. It means providing consistent, predictable structure so the nervous system isn't constantly recalibrating. It means protecting rest, actual deep rest, in a quiet space, not just flopped near a loud TV. These aren't luxuries for sensitive dogs. They're longevity inputs for every dog. Now here's the part where everything connects, and this is the open loop I want you to hold on to. Every single pillar we've talked about, joints, organs, cognition, dental, stress, has something in common. The interventions that are most effective are also the ones that require the least heroic effort when started early. They are small, consistent actions compounded over years. The inflammatory reduction from omega-3s doesn't happen in a week. The cognitive resilience from mental stimulation doesn't build in a month. The kidney protection from better hydration isn't visible on next year's blood work. But 5 years from now, the dog who received that consistent midlife foundation and the dog who didn't, their trajectories have diverged significantly. That's the point your vet cannot quite communicate in a 10-minute wellness visit. Not because they do not care, but because reactive medicine has no framework for what healthy dogs need to stay that way. The clean bill of health is real, and it is also the starting gun, not the finish line. So let us answer the question you came here with. When does senior dog care actually start? Not at 7, not when the muzzle goes gray, not when the first limp appears. It starts the moment you decide to stop waiting for a problem before taking longevity seriously. For most dogs, that moment is somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. For larger dogs, it is earlier. And for the dog sitting next to you right now, whatever age they are, it starts today, with whatever piece of this framework you are not already doing. If something in this video shifted how you think about your dog's health timeline, I genuinely encourage you to share it with someone whose dog is in that 4 to 7 year range. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because this is exactly the window where it matters most and where nobody's having this conversation yet. There's more on this channel about building a long, healthy life with your dog, from nutrition to movement to the vet conversations worth having. Explore what's relevant to where you and your dog are right now. That's the whole point of being here. Thanks for watching. If you loved this video, scan the QR code on the screen right now to subscribe and join the Possum Life family. Give your dog a belly rub for us, and we will see you in the next video.